One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. I'm here at MIT and I'm joined by John Benedick. John is currently the Senior Associate Athletics Director here for the MIT Engineers, and he's been here at MIT for 44 years. Greetings, John. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Ty.
Now, John, 44 years.
Yeah.
You've been here for a long time.
I started when I was 12.
Been here for a while. You were over swimming and water polo as a coach for 22 years. Then you transitioned into athletics administration for 22 years. And now you're stepping away. You decided to say, hey, you know what? I've done that. Now it's time to move on to other things. The question I have for you is, in those 44 years, if you could reflect and think about what your thoughts were on college athletics and its importance and the processes involved and what it is when you were coaching, what your thoughts were when you made the transition 22 years ago into athletics administration, and now that you're stepping away, what your thoughts are in terms of college athletics, its importance, the student athletes, and everything involved.
Great question. I got involved in intercollegiate athletics. I was lucky in that probably my sophomore year in college, I decided that I wanted to be a head swimming and water polo coach at a 4-year institution. I mean, I was that specific with my goals. And so I went through undergraduate. I got my teaching credential. I went to school in California, and you had to go an extra year to get your credential. And then I recognized that I really wanted to follow that sophomore goal that I had. And I ended up going to Berkeley for graduate school. Because at that time, you really needed to have a graduate degree, a master's degree to teach at the college level. Things have changed a little bit because at that time, most people who got into college athletics in physical education or coaching sports also had the dual responsibility of teaching PE. And so I recognized that, and so I just got my master's degree. And at the end of my master's program, MIT was advertising for a swimming and water polo coach. And so I applied. So swimming and water polo were a really big part of my life growing up. It made me who I was. And I recognized that I liked the idea of coaching. I did a little bit of age group swim coaching. And it really positioned me well in California to be able to make that transition. I coached high school for a little bit, and then I came to MIT. The teams at that time were the passion that the athletes brought to the pool were really no different than the passion they bring right now. This is an amazing population of students here at MIT. I often tell the coaches that we hire here, this might be the best place that you ever coach in your life. Because if you can tap into their goal setting and their work ethic, their planning, sometimes you just have to step out of the way because they are a remarkable group to coach. But over time, it wasn't as though I conquered things and I'd done everything I could do. That was far from that. But I felt like I could make a greater impact on the athletic department as a whole if I ever had the opportunity to move into the administration. And I had actually made that decision probably 3 or 4 years before MIT came calling to ask me to move to what was then the assistant director position. So when they came asking, I was completely ready to make that decision. So I made that transition into administration. And at that time, MIT was pretty much a mom and pop organization. Right. And we say that with great fondness because we had a lot of connection with the people who, came and worked out recreationally, certainly with the athletes. The way we ran things was pretty much on a shoestring. But again, things haven't changed. It's still the people that make everything work well. And I think that to fast forward to where we are today, again, we've accomplished a tremendous amount here. But I fully recognize that there is that never-ending resource of things to change. But there's also new and upcoming professionals in the market. And I'm not trying to sound altruistic here, but there is a time to move on. There is a time to step out of the way and let the new ideas come forward. So that's pretty much the reason why, besides which, I'm still active. Physically and actively, I'm out there playing tennis and swimming and doing all sorts of things. So it's not a matter that I'm falling apart. It's just that it's time for a change and to give an opportunity for those young, newer professionals coming in, and quite frankly, the new ideas.
But how do you? I guess the question I have along the lines is when you made a transition from coach to admin, and then you're making a transition now in terms of retiring. Did you have some type of evaluation points that helped you decide when it was time to move on, when it was time to get into administration, or now that you're stepping away, you feel like it's time for you to move on to allow young people? But I guess, is the institution on the same page with you, or is this something you've come to? Like, what are your evaluation points when you get to these, I guess, for the lack of a better word, inflection points in your career?
Yeah, great question. And I think that age has something to do with that. I think that you see there's a horizon out there, and you start getting closer and closer to that. I mentioned that there's sort of this never-ending resource of opportunities to change things. But once you see that you begin to change the same things, they're not all the same, but there are times when the same problem comes up, but kind of in a different way, and you're saying, we've been here. This is like the second or third time we've talked about it. It's still important, different iteration of it, but it's maybe there needs a different set of eyes on this, and so it's not like improving things or helping make a change or whatever isn't an intoxicating opportunity. Right. But after a period of time, there may be other things that might be of equal interest. It can't work forever.
I like the way you phrase that. These are not problems to be solved. This is a never-ending resource of opportunities to work on. I like the way you phrase that. Now, you've been here at MIT for 44 years, as we mentioned. You right out of college, get the job, worked in high school a little bit, but you get the job here at MIT. Why MIT and why 44 years? Did you go out and have you ever pursued an athletic director role? Or, were those opportunities presented for you, or did you just fall in love with this place and say, this is where I need to be and this is where I'm going to make the influence?
Well, the initial why MIT is that, you're right out of grad school, and I interviewed for several different coaching positions. And as anybody knows who's listening to this, is that sometimes there's not a tremendous amount of opportunities out there. And so you can't be too picky. So this was a real adventure. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and this was truly a different part of the world and a real opportunity. I came out and interviewed. They were remarkable people who interviewed me. If I had anything if anybody asked me how MIT has changed, new buildings, better this, better that, but the people here at MIT have always been the motivating factor, one of the motivating factors to stay, because it is, if you have any kind of entrepreneurial spirit in you, and there's sort of that idea that I can do this, this is the place that you want to be. This is the place that you want to, you can just grow and thrive. It's remarkable. So right out of school, I got lucky and I found a place that really fit me. The swimming and water polo teams were not as good as they could have been, and it was just an opportunity to build, and so it was very exciting. As far as why I never looked at another opportunity, I enjoyed teaching. Don't get me wrong, I'm really competitive, but I really enjoyed the teaching aspect of the requirement that we had to teach here. And that was enjoyable. But I just liked the fact that I could build things here and move on.
I wonder, once you moved into administration, you mentioned MIT and the love you have for this place.
Yeah.
Monday morning quarterback. If an opportunity came up for you to go take an AD job somewhere, 10, 12 years ago, would you have been interested, or because you stayed here? You stayed here. Of course, Julie came 6 or 7, 8, 10 years, years ago. Right. Yeah. She's a great leader. So why stay? Obviously, you progressed in your role, but why stay? I mean, you mentioned never-ending resource of opportunities, but
I keep going back to that because again, it's the people, it's the kind of institution that, believe it or not, has a tremendously great fit with intercollegiate athletics.
Okay.
We take the approach that both the academic side and the athletic side is an absolute easy fit, and so it never really crossed my mind to move because I was happy doing here what I was doing.
Right.
And if I went to another place, I would just have been recreating what I was doing here.
So you got to teaching, you like to teach, and you're comfortable. You understand. You've seen it grow and had a hand in the growth, which I think is very important.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I had a big hand in, for better or worse, in the design and development of the building that we're sitting in, the Zessigers Sports and Fitness Center.
And that pool out there looks wonderful.
Exactly. And I was given a lot of opportunity to have some significant input to that thing. So, there's been that opportunity to build, to make a difference, to provide for, and along the lines, it was always important to keep in perspective the reason why we're here.
Right.
And the only reason that we're here is to help these student athletes fulfill their interest in performing at the highest level they can. And make no mistake about it, the students here coming thinking that they are the best in the world, that's a pretty lofty goal. They don't change that opinion once 5 o'clock rolls around and practice starts.
Right.
They think, if I'm the best there, why can't I be the best here? And, there is some reality checking that has to be done, but you never want to squash that spirit.
Right.
And that's why it's so cool to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great conversation. We'll wrap with this. 44 years of experience. You've seen challenges, you've seen celebrations. You take those, you embrace them, you learn from them, and you keep moving forward. My philosophy is that the key to a peaceful existence in life is to master the ability to adjust accordingly. So I wonder if you had some words for advice for people. With 44 years, you can talk to people at any position in their career and offer some type of advice to anyone who's listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I get. I was asked that question, somewhat similar by the folks at the school I graduated from, which it was Cal State Hayward, but now it's Cal State East Bay. And they said, "What advice would you have for the students? The student athletes?" It's basically the question that you're asking. And I said, "Be happy. Make it fun. Look for the opportunities to improve, and look for the opportunities to help."
Right.
And if you keep that attitude, you're going to find those ways of making a difference. You're going to find those ways of helping other people, and through that, you're going to satisfy yourself.
Right.
So, and there's always opportunities to be upset, and to be angry and stuff, but it's too hard to live that.
Yeah, right. It takes a lot of energy, doesn't it?
It takes a lot of energy, and I just think that, I've often said that winning matters, but winning isn't everything. But trying to win is.
Right.
Because in this competitive environment, if you're not trying to win, then you confuse everybody. So when all you're doing is focusing on winning, you do things different. But if you focus on trying to win and all the different things that are involved in what it gets you there, rather than just looking at the W, you end up doing a lot of good things.
You do.
Taking care of people because you recognize they need help. They need rest. They need encouragement. They need those kinds of things.
Right.
And if you focus on those small things, sometimes you almost can't help but win.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's excellent information, John. It's a great way to end the podcast. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
It was a pleasure.
That was John Benedick. He is the Senior Associate Athletics Director here at MIT. He's been here at MIT for 44 years and is retiring later this year. And of course, this is Ty Brown with one question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.